So I just wrapped up part one of tonight's show and got a new alert, and this was per Adam Schefter. Alex Smith will average $23.5 million per year in new money on the 4-year extension, with approximately $70 million in guaranteed money on the agreement between the two sides. There is no official contract or paperwork, so agreement in principle right now. So, as this was first reported by Ian Rappaport, this is not technically official yet due to the fact that the new league year doesn't start until March, but an agreement is in place for Alex Smith to be traded from the Chiefs to the Redskins. And the Chiefs, as I first reported, it would be a second-round pick. I was actually wrong. I misread that. It's a third-round pick and a player to be named soon, and that's a decent haul for Alex Smith, given that the Chiefs were not going to re-sign him and that he was owed a lot of money. The Redskins really were in a pinch because they were not going to re-sign Kirk Cousins, and the Redskins needed to get a quarterback. So Alex Smith was somewhat of a perfect fit for them. But the one question that really has popped into my mind since I've heard more about this news: Alex Smith will average $23.5 million per year in new money on the 4-year extension, with approximately $70 million in guaranteed money. That leads me to believe that Kirk Cousins wants to get exponentially paid. I don't know if he wants more money per year and guaranteed money, or one or the other. I'm assuming it's both. Because if Alex Smith, who's 34, is getting $23 million per year and $70 million of that guaranteed, then Captain Kirky might want to be a $100 million quarterback, guaranteed. And that is ridiculous because, Kirk Cousins is coming off 3 straight 4,000-yard seasons. He's done some solid things for Washington. He was really their franchise savior, but he's 30 years old, and which team out there is going to be willing to pay him that much money? Maybe Cleveland, maybe Buffalo, 2 teams that have a lot of cap space, maybe Denver. But I look at the situation that Denver is in, and they have a lot of low-risk, high-reward quarterbacks. Paxton Lynch and Chad Kelly. People can laugh at that all they want, but had Chad Kelly not had the off-the-field issues that he had, he would have been a first-round pick. Had he not had the incident at Clemson University, he would have went on to do very big things for the eventual national championship winning Clemson Tigers. So there's a lot to be said there, and I think that it's warranted. It definitely should be warranted with that, with that thought process that they have a lot of low risk, high reward quarterbacks. But John Elway is a win now guy. He was a win now player. He's a win now executive, GM, whatever you want to call it. So I think that Denver could be in line for Kirk Cousins. I think they might be the top destination. They really could be. They really could be the top destination. But it all depends on, and I stated this many times, it all depends on who wants to pay Kirk Cousins the most money. That is where Kirk Cousins will go. He's looking for dollars and cents. Doesn't care about the situation. Doesn't care about the supporting cast. I'm sure that has a little bit to do with it, whether he goes to Buffalo, Cleveland, or Denver. Let's just say those AFC squads. He's going to have a pretty solid supporting cast. The Browns, if they were to go after Kirk Cousins, they could potentially get Saquon Barkley, to line up in the backfield behind him. You got Josh Gordon, you got David Njoku, you got a solid offensive line, you got Corey Coleman. Your defense has got some cornerstone players on it. I think they'll go after Minkah Fitzpatrick as well with the 4th selection. Myles Garrett, had the injury that he had, but he's solid. Jamie Collins, there's some pieces there. Jabril Peppers I really like. So there are some pieces there in Cleveland. You go to Denver, they have that vaunted front seven. Really they're just a legit quarterback away from being something. And then you have Buffalo, who has one of the best run games in the league, one of the better offensive lines, I'd say, in the league, and a defense that plays very hard. They're a hard-working team. They might not have the biggest names, but they're a hard-working team. So out of those three teams, which team would pay the most? I think the most desperate team would pay the most, and the most desperate team might be Denver, because John Elway is such a win-now guy. Now, some Bills fans out there would say, well, maybe Buffalo is the most desperate team because they haven't had a quarterback in a while. Well, that's true, but Buffalo, the organization, the fans, all the way around, want a long-term answer at the quarterback position, and I do not believe Kirk Cousins is a long-term answer. For one, he's 30, but throwing that aside, I don't think Kirk Cousins wants to play much longer. I think Kirk Cousins is a guy that will probably retire at the age of 34, 35. And this is why he wants the money that he's asking for. I've talked about this a bunch of times on the podcast, on the show, that Kirk Cousins volunteered to be tested for CTE in a new study conducted by Boston University, and he stated that if he showed signs of CTE, he would not be playing in the NFL. He would retire immediately. And this story is being just swept under the rug like it's nothing, but it is a true, real story. And I think it warrants some consideration in terms of all this news now that is happening with Cousins, that Washington didn't want to re-sign him, that they were willing to pay Alex Smith a lot of money. Which team is going to be desperate enough to get a year or 2 or 3 out of Kirk Cousins? I'm not sure. But regardless, he wants to be paid. And I think he will be. Someone will go after him. In a way, I hope it's not Buffalo, because I want a long-term answer just as much as anybody else. That's why I did think Alex Smith was a good option, because he'd allow them to get to have that bridge quarterback. But I guess technically speaking, Kirk Cousins could be considered a bridge quarterback. A lot to take in here with this story. Definitely a shocking development, because it wasn't even reported that Washington was interested. But now that it is a reality, it makes sense. It really does. And it will lead to dominoes falling. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take. Kirk Cousins is about to get paid. Could it be? It's going to be risky. I think it's a risk. Kirk Cousins is about to get paid. Fair or foul? I think it's foul. Take care, everybody.